Well, hi everyone. Ethys here, and as you may know, I had a chance to play a preview build of Final Fantasy XIV's new expansion Shadowbringers not long ago at the Media Tour in London, and I made sure to take the time to thoroughly explore and examine each of the zones available to us. Naturally, we're going to start our tour in the new player hub for 5.x in the shadow of the Crystal Tower of Novrant, the Crystarium. We would be amiss to start exploring this place without acknowledging first its origins in the history of Final Fantasy XIV's development. We first saw the prototype for this place back at E3 in 2005, showcased by Square Enix as Untitled MMORPG tech demo. It's also rather reminiscent of the Adventurers Guild from the beginning of the 1.0 trailer, but we never saw anything like it in-game until now. But now we have the Crystarium, one of the two remaining cities of Novrant. Here we are told the surviving peoples of the first have gathered and formed an alliance to fight against the Sin Eaters and safeguard the survival of the realm. The gate into Lakeland is called Tessellation, which is of course an arrangement of different shapes fitted closely together without overlapping. Unity found in difference, a more optimistic and melange simile than, say, bulwark or phalanx, and an illuminating image for the purpose of this city. As soon as we enter, we see a procession of soldiers garbed in the Alliance uniform, which will soon become so familiar to us, and milling groups of industrious artisans. The first shard doesn't know night, and until it does, the Crystarium doesn't sleep. At the north end of the courtyard, we'll find our first stop, the Temenus Rookery. A temenus is, at least in ancient Greece, a piece of land specifically delineated and assigned as a domain or sanctuary dedicated to a particular god. The term was used less frequently to refer to a space dedicated for other specific and inalienable purposes, such as a grove of trees that could not by law be removed or built over. With land in relatively short supply, given the flood of light surrounding Novrant, it makes sense that every space in the Crystarium would have to be assigned a strict purpose as a temenus. It could also be that the creatures to which this temenus is dedicated hold a spiritual or religious significance to the citizens. We already understand that Novrant contains much myth and prophecy regarding darkness, and the ruins of several temples dedicated to a seemingly associated faith are scattered about the realm. Perhaps the dark-winged Amaro are part of this culture. The Amaro seem to be Novrant's native equivalent to the Girabunyan griffin or Azim steppe yol. We see chocobos here too, but the Amaro is far more common. Our first thought on this name is probably the Italian herbal liqueur, but the Italian word amaro, from the Latin Amal'jaa, literally means bitter. For the name of a large, black, menacing avian creature with an unnatural number of wings and a vicious, jagged beak, the name might have a similar meaning to bitter in the languages of Novrant. From how we see them treated here, however, it's safe to assume that the Amaro is more gentle than it appears. Then we see, apparently as the keepers and trainers of the Amaro, a clan of Novrantian Amal'jaa. For anyone curious whether the so-called beast races of Hydaelyn would find their equivalents on the first in the same ways as civilized peoples, this is very interesting. I can't wait to find out how their culture varies and what other familiar tribes we might find here. The impassable gates here clearly show the sign no entry, but it is definitely not Eorzean script. So I guess we have a new alphabet to learn. We also pass a hunt board. Although the creatures posted are unfamiliar, it's clear that the first version of Clan Centurio has a presence here as well. Next we move down through the Rotunda and towards the Trivium, a subterranean space connected to the canals that snake beneath the city. In ancient Greek and Roman education, it was widely believed that the study of 7 particular subjects were essential for a free man to participate in civic life. The lower 3 of these 7 liberal arts are grammar, logic, and rhetoric, the trivium to be mastered before proceeding to the quadrivium of arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. In the Crystarium, the Trivium is most likely the space dedicated to the preservation and cultivation of all surviving knowledge on the first, split between the Hortorium, the Whispering Gallery, and the Cabinet of Curiosity. The Hortorium is no doubt its horticultural section. Yolani here describes it as the Crystarium's Center for Agricultural Research, a place where they continue to develop new fertilizers and techniques in order to grow crops and feed the city. No doubt this place will be important to the Disciple of Hand and Land storyline for the Crystalline Mean. At the far end of the Trivium's Whispering Gallery, we find the Cabinet of Curiosity, a humble name for an immense multi-story library. A haven for scholars, a dream for Charlayans, and no doubt where Rianger has been spending the past few moons. At the top stands a stern-looking Hume named Moren, probably the Grand Master of this place, and an important NPC for Shadowbringers. I'm dismayed but not greatly surprised that not one of these thousands of tomes are readable for the player. I really wish Yoshida would stop giving us fruitless libraries. But maybe just as almost none of the NPCs in this build have dialogue, the final build will include at least a few morsels of lore scattered through this space. Let me hope, okay? We head back upstairs to the Grand Rotunda, which hosts the Aetherite Plaza, and above to the Baldachin. In ecclesiastical architecture, a baldachin is a canopy, classically of cloth, placed over an altar, throne, or significant seat of authority. The Crystarium's baldachin is a stone canopic boulevard above the city, home to what appears to be the tombstone and script traders, as well as mean leaves, obviously leaves associated with the crystalline mean, and a conspicuously empty stall. The crystalline mean itself is an open, segmented omni-workshop. We already know that this place will be the collective hub for Disciples of Hand and Land, with questlines covering the facets of forging, crafting, nourishment, gathering, and fishing. Frithric here tells us they're having trouble filling orders. It's easy to imagine that this place has difficulty meeting the collective demands of the entire surviving population of this world. No doubt that's where we come in. The NPCs here all seem innocuous enough, nothing suspicious or alarmingly out of place, nothing that doesn't belong here in this dimension and whose presence may have far-reaching ramifications that cause us to question the history of this and every other world. Unassuming individual indeed. Further upstairs, the Amara launch, pretty self-explanatory, with Amal'jaa attendants offering quick travel to various zones beyond the city. At the end of the Baldachin, we discover a wide shaft with a sophisticated pulley system for lifting hardware from the warehouse below. The warehouse in question is called Ballistics, and it stores a variety of what appears to be anti-air batteries for defending the city against curious sin-eaters or other airborne threats. Outside is the Exedra, another ancient Greek name for an architectural feature usually found alongside a public walkway, for seating within a shrine, temple, or sanctuary. Here it seems to serve as more of a training and staging space, as well as public thoroughfare between the city proper and the circus tower. A little to the southwest is the Spagyrics, an uncommon synonym for alchemy. Spagyrics is clearly a combined laboratory and ward. The Crystarium is connected to the circus tower via the Dossal Gate. A dossal is a cloth which hangs behind a church altar, usually from the baldachin to the wall, an appropriate name for the glittering crystal gate rising up behind the Crystarium's rotunda. The gate itself is identical to that which seals the circus tower in Eorzea, depicting what we've been led to believe to be members of the Allagan royal line, the ancestors of Une and Doga, hence their ability to open it. If there was still any doubt, this is the very same crystal tower, somehow piercing the barrier betwixt worlds, or else a perfect copy. At the south end of the Exedra lies the Quadrivium and the Crystarium's residential towers. The first of these, the Catenaries, is named for the shape of the curve taken by a chain, wire, or suspension bridge hanging only by its ends. It stretches from the canals below to the high walkways suspended above the Quadrivium, for which it likely takes its name. The second tower has the thematically consistent name The Pendants. Several stories of apartments snake alongside the canal into the distance. In the southwest of the Quadrivium, the Wandering Stairs seems to constitute the city's primary inn and distillery, and opens out to the Sweet Sieve, a vineyard and orchard back towards the city's fore to the south of Tessellation. Musica Universalis in the Quadrivium's north facilitates the commercial district. After the ancient Greek Pythagoras described the ratios of intervals between sound frequencies, he theorized that celestial bodies would emit varying musical tones as they moved, and that the music that they subsequently created together in orbit, although inaudible to the human ear, would nonetheless influence early phenomena. Astronomy and music were therefore intertwined, connected by mathematics. This concept of a musica universalis would prove influential for millennia. Remember when I mentioned that music and astronomy were part of the classical quadrivium? I'm starting to suspect now that the Crystarium was originally something between a monastery and a university, perhaps the first equivalent of Charlene. This place, Musica Universalis, would then have literally been a space dedicated to the study of music and astronomy. Our working theory, before actually getting into Shadowbringers and learning anything concrete about this place, is that the Crystarium was until but recently a sacred sanctuary of knowledge and worship, built in reverence at the foot of the Crystal Tower after it appeared or was discovered in Novrant. The names of most of the features of the city speak quite clearly to this. It wasn't until the flood of light erased the vast majority of this world's civilizations then that a great tide of refugees would have made for the tower like a beacon, incidentally so close to the source that it would soon be the last pocket free from extinction. In response, it has been recommissioned into a working city, and the greater surviving minds have turned their attention to the united and orchestrated response to this apocalyptic event. The remnants of an entire world united in common resistance beneath the Crystal Banner. An absolute dichotomy to Yulmore, which we will also get to explore very soon. We'll conclude our tour for now back in the Rotunda. The Crystarium Aetherite looks old and worn, its stone housing all but deteriorated, and the crystal itself largely drained or corrupted, no doubt a consequence of the creeping flood of light. Soon we'll arrive in Novrant to fight back the flood, but I hope we also find the time aplenty to plumb the depths of lore and answer more of the questions that this magnificent city will no doubt have to offer. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to support what I do, then consider checking me out on Twitch, where I stream 5 days a week for several hours, or check out the rest of the channel here on YouTube for Shadowbringers previews and more Final Fantasy XIV lore content. Take care, and I'll catch you all in Novrant very soon.